Hi everyone, I'm Sleepless Scientist. Tonight we're heading somewhere cold. Really cold. Not grab a sweater, cold not even this plane is chilly, cold. No, tonight you're stepping barefoot into the heart of the Ice Age. It's dark. The stars above you are different, brighter, unfamiliar. Your breath fogs the air before your face. Every sound is muffled by snow. Somewhere far off, you hear the crunch of something massive moving across a frozen plain. Maybe it's wind. Maybe it's not. The year is somewhere around 20,000 BC. That means no roads, no alarms, no electricity, no bedtime stories unless you count the hushed stories passed mouth to mouth in languages long extinct. And you're not wearing much. A pelt, maybe. Your feet hurt. You haven't eaten anything but dried berries and half a roasted vole in 3 days. But you're still moving half asleep as your eyes adjust to a world sculpted entirely by ice and time. Oh, and by the way, you probably wouldn't survive this. Just saying. I'd love to know where in the world you're listening from and what time it is for you. Let me know in the comments below. I'm always curious where these quiet little science stories are drifting to, and if this video helped you while you were there. Now relax, take a deep breath, and join me gently on this evening's journey. The first thing you notice is how quiet it is. Snow isn't just frozen rain. It's silence given form. Each flake falls like a secret. A billion secrets piling into glaciers tall enough to squash mountains. You're standing on what will one day be Canada. Right now, though, it's all one vast frozen shelf stretching endlessly in every direction. The ice is hundreds, sometimes thousands of meters thick, and underneath, rock dirt, crushed forests, and fossils, all flattened like forgotten thoughts. This is the last glacial maximum, the peak of the last great ice age. You hear a soft crack. Not a threatening one, just the casual reminder that the planet is always shifting underfoot. The ground beneath you is alive, not with warmth, but with pressure. The ice above is pushing down with the weight of 1,000 cities. And here you are, just a fragile human with a puff of breath and a thin fur wrap, trying to get some sleep. Good luck with that. You spot a small hollow carved into a hill of snow. Maybe it's a den, maybe it's a trap, but the wind has picked up and your eyelids are made of lead. You crawl inside and curl up in a ball. Your pulse slows, your thoughts fade. The strange thing is, even in this ridiculous cold, your brain still craves rest. Sleep isn't optional, even here in this frozen apocalypse. In fact, the need to sleep might be one of the only things that makes you human and Ice Age proof. Some scientists argue that deep sleep evolved precisely because the world was so brutal. Dreaming while saber-toothed cats roam around sounds insane, but it was worth it for your brain to reset. Your body starts to shiver. That's natural. Micromuscle contractions are your only source of heat now, but your brain interestingly starts producing a faintly trippy chemical cocktail, melatonin rising, cortisol dropping. You're slipping into the first stage of sleep. Not that it's peaceful. Your dreams are odd. You see mammoths melting into rivers, your teeth falling out and turning into feathers your parents, but speaking in backwards words. Nobody really knows what dreams meant to Paleolithic humans. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. Maybe they were visions, warnings, or just nonsense. Scientists still debate whether dreams served a practical evolutionary function or were just side effects of memory housekeeping. Either way, here you are, dozing in the Ice Age. Strangely, this brain of yours, it works just like it did 20,000 years later. The same neural waves, the same sleep cycles, the same slow, rhythmic dips into REM sleep, even if you're using your arm as a pillow and sharing your snow cave with a wolf. Yes, there's a wolf in here now. Don't worry, it's asleep too. Probably. That wolf, she might become your best friend or the first dog eventually. But for now, you're just two warm bodies trying to survive nature's longest night. Speaking of long nights, fun fact, Ice Age nights weren't necessarily darker, but they felt longer. With the atmosphere thinner and the air cleaner, moonlight hit differently, sharper, colder. The moon didn't glow, it glared. It's said that indigenous Arctic peoples have dozens of words for snow, but let's be honest, they probably just had a lot of time to think while stuck inside an ice cave, chewing fish skins and trying not to freeze to death. Outside, you hear wind whip across the glacier's edge. A whiteout? You're safe for now. Another weird thing about sleeping in this cold, it can actually help you survive. You burn less energy. Your body conserves fat. Your metabolism slows. Your heart rate drops. Modern sleep scientists actually simulate cold sleeping conditions to improve sleep quality today. Weighted blankets, Ice Age vibes, cool bedrooms, Paleolithic perfection. You roll over. Something crunches beneath you, frozen moss, or maybe a dead beetle. You don't care. You're almost out. And then just before you drift completely, you hear it again. That distant crunch, the glacier's sigh, a boulder being slowly swallowed by the creeping tongue of ancient ice. It sounds like the world is exhaling. You relax, just a little. The world is brutal, but sleep, oddly enough, is still sacred, still soft, still yours, even here, even now. You wake up slowly, your breath still visible in the frozen air. It's not quite morning. There is no real morning here, not the kind you're used to. The sky is a pale steel grey and the horizon is blurred. The sun, if you can call it that, hangs low, like it's too tired to rise any further. You crawl out of your snowy, hollow bones, stiff joints, quietly protesting. Every step crunches. Beneath you is not snow, but layers of compacted time millennia of winter, pressing downward, a white, shimmering history book. You glance up, and then you just watch. It's been snowing for what feels like forever. Light snow, fat snow, sideways snow, ghost flake snow. You try to track how many types you've seen in the past few hours or days, but it's useless. It doesn't matter. This isn't a regular snowstorm. It's a geological event in slow motion. You stand perfectly still as the flakes drift onto your skin. Cold, soft, but relentless. This, you realize, is how glaciers begin, not with some loud cataclysm or thunderous blizzard, just snow, falling, quietly. Every second, every flake adds another layer, a breath, a weight, a whisper of pressure. Eventually, under its own bulk, snow compresses into firm and in-between state of icy granules, then solid ice, thick, heavy, and hungry. That ice starts to move. And here's the thing, glaciers don't roll like rocks. They ooze, like toothpaste. Slow, slow toothpaste. A glacier can move just a few centimeters a day, but that's all it needs. Over centuries, glaciers become bulldozers of geological history, ripping trees, from soil grinding mountains into dust. And they don't ask permission. You look around and see where the ice has scraped a valley clean, like someone ran their nail through wet clay. Huge rocks litter the land like crumbs. These are erratics carried for hundreds of miles by creeping glaciers and dropped like forgotten groceries. One sits next to your foot, the size of a car, cold as betrayal. Inside your head a strange idea bubbles up. Glaciers are like time made visible. They don't hurry, but they don't stop. Odd fact, somewhere in Antarctica right now, there's ice that fell as snow over 1 million years ago. Still locked inside, still slowly drifting toward the sea. Imagine sleeping for that long. But you don't have 1 million years. You're already exhausted again. Snow keeps falling. No wind, no noise, just that silent build-up. You start thinking of your own mind like a glacier. You store memories. You compact your thoughts. And under pressure, your brain starts moving. Shifting emotions, regrets, weird dreams. Funny, isn't it? Snow and sleep, they're both layers. Both slow. Both cold, quiet, and deeply human. You walk toward a ridge. From here you can see where an entire valley used to be. Now it's filled with a frozen wall of ice, thick as a skyscraper, moving barely perceptibly. At its edge it curls up slightly like a lip, the terminus. You swear you see it twitch. Glaciers don't care about your house, or your dreams, or the small, hopeful things you buried under a stone for luck. They move forward no matter what. And yet, as terrifying as they are, you can't help but admire them. There's something comforting about their indifference. Like nature itself has a long-term plan, and you're just a flicker in the snow. You sit down on a half-buried log, possibly the last remnant of a forest from centuries ago. The bark crumbles under your touch. Your eyelids begin to close again. But before you doze, you imagine what would happen if you stayed here. Not for a day or a week, but 1,000 years. The snow would keep falling. Your body would freeze. Your outline might last centuries, entombed in layers of fern, preserved like a prehistoric popsicle. And some future scientist, let's say from New Jersey, might drill down and pull out your toe. Scientists still debate how many glaciers the world truly needs. Some argue they're vital for regulating planetary temperatures, like ice packs on a cosmic fever. Others point out that we're losing them too fast now. Too fast to measure, too fast to adapt. But you right now don't need to debate anything. You just need to rest. You lie back. The cold seeps in, but it doesn't feel cruel anymore. Just quiet. You exhale. The snow catches the sound and smothers it instantly. In the distance, a rock gives way with a thud, carried too far too long by the glacier that birthed it. And then you remember a random fact you once heard. Mount Everest used to be underwater, covered in coral, proof that time and pressure change everything, even the tallest things you thought were permanent. Your thoughts drift. The snow thickens. Your lashes freeze together. You sleep under a sky that hasn't seen blue in 1,000 years. You wake up to a snort, a heavy one, not human, not friendly. You barely have time to lift your head before you see it, a hulking, shaggy mass blocking the horizon like a walking boulder. A mammoth. Its fur hangs in thick clumps coated in snow, twitching slightly as it sniffs the air. Steam rises from its nostrils in slow, rhythmic clouds. You don't move. Neither does it. The two of you just exist in parallel silence for a few heavy seconds. Then it lets out a deep humph turns and wanders away, leaving a trail of steaming dung in the snow, which, by the way, will freeze solid in about 40 seconds. You're left blinking, processing what just happened. Not many people get to wake up next to a woolly mammoth. And yet somehow what lingers with you isn't the sheer scale of it, but the rhythm, the way it breathed, the way it moved like it was conserving every ounce of energy, every step chosen with sleepy precision. You stand and stretch bones, cracking breath, forming in clouds. Your sleep was shallow, disturbed by the cold, yes, but also by something else. A vague ache in your spine, a feeling you felt before after sleeping too long on a friend's floor. And then it hits you. Your sleep wasn't just in the Ice Age, it was of the Ice Age, because the cold changes everything, even the shape of your dreams. Here's the scientific part. Your body, when exposed to colder climates, shifts its sleep architecture. You spend more time in lighter sleep stages and less in REM. The cold messes with your hypothalamus, the brain's temperature and sleep regulator. Your ancestors sleeping in caves. They didn't dream like you do. They didn't have 8 hours of Netflix and numbed REM cycles. Their sleep was shorter, more fragmented, and more responsive to danger. A nearby snarl might snap you awake mid-dream. Scientists still debate whether Ice Age humans slept better or worse than us. You squat near the mammoth tracks, tracing them with your finger. Wide, deep, lazy. The mammoth didn't sleep in cozy nests. It probably napped standing up sometimes, or huddled into mounds of snow. But here's the wild part. Researchers have studied the daily rest cycles of large mammals, like elephants, and found they sleep far less than you'd expect. Sometimes just 2 hours a day. That's not sleep deprivation. That's just biology. Big bodies, big energy demands, low-risk environments. Sleep is expensive for creatures like that. But you're small, soft, delicious. You needed sleep and vigilance. You trudge forward, following the trail. Your mind begins to wander. What if your brain adapted to mirror the world it came from? Could it be that our ability to dip into dreams and rise at the sound of a crack in the dark came from millennia of sleeping with one eye metaphorically open? You pass a hill where bones are poking out of the snow, long ribs curling tusks. A mammoth graveyard. We found entire mammoths flash frozen with food still in their mouths, perfectly preserved for 20,000 years. Some still had fur eyes, even stomach bacteria. That's the power of sleep and cold combined. Time doesn't pass normally when everything freezes. Your breath fogs as you think. What if the brain in cold sleep enters a similar kind of suspension? Could frozen sleep preserve ideas, memories, even feelings like fossils? Odd fact, in 1993, scientists revived 30,000-year-old moss that had been trapped in Antarctic ice. It started growing again, like nothing had happened. Imagine doing that with you. Of course you're not moss. You're mostly anxiety snack cravings and forgotten passwords. But your biology, your core, has survived cold like this before. You finally reach a ridge and find a sheltered cove. There's a half-collapsed animal den here, filled with flattened grass bones and fur. Probably abandoned. You settle inside. It smells like ancient sweat and damp wool. But it's soft. Your muscles sigh. You lie back. And then for just a moment, you imagine being the mammoth, trudging across a white world slow and solemn, barely sleeping, always moving, carrying ancient warmth inside a blanket of ice. You chuckle to yourself. That would make a good dream. Your eyes begin to close again and you start slipping. Not into sleep exactly, but into that delicious in-between space, hypnagogia, where thoughts are liquid and logic is optional. In this strange fog, you hear the mammoth again. Or maybe it's your heartbeat. The two blend together until they're the same slow, steady rhythm. Cold on your skin, mammoth in your dreams. You drift. When you open your eyes again, the world has changed. The sky is darker, thicker. The wind is different, not howling, but humming. A deep subterranean hum, like the planet is sighing beneath you. You sit up slowly. There's a cliff edge nearby, and you crawl to it on your elbows, cautious, still half asleep. Below you is a wide, white valley. Or at least it used to be a valley. Now it's a slow-moving wall of ice, a glacier. It stretches for miles, curling around mountains like cold taffy. It doesn't rush. It doesn't even flow. It crawls. It crushes. And down at the edge of that frozen river, you see something strange. A line of half-sunk objects. Huts. You squint. They're not made of brick or stone. These are primitive shelters. Wood frames covered with mammoth hide, now half swallowed by the creeping glacier. You slide down the snowy hill, one careful step at a time, and approach. There's nothing alive here, just outlines. A broken bone here, a charred stick there, a stone knife, a shattered bowl. Time has pressed down on everything, and the glacier, as always, didn't care. One shelter is barely standing, a skin flap, still fluttering, like it remembers being part of a home. You duck inside, and there at the center is a circle of stones, the remnants of a fire. You kneel beside it and close your eyes. Imagine it a family huddled around the fire, snow drifting through cracks in the roof, a child asleep on their mother's shoulder, the wind outside like a distant growl. They'd sleep in short bursts, rest while someone else watched the dark. Take turns keeping the embers alive. Sleep was never guaranteed. It had to be earned. And here's where science drifts in, quietly cold changes your deep sleep, your slow wave cycles. Your body in frigid environments tries to preserve heat by reducing blood flow to the skin and redirecting it inward. But here's the trick. Your brain, which uses about 20% of your body's energy, doesn't get a pass. When it cools, too much cognitive function dips. In short, the colder you are, the dumber you get, which makes sleeping during the Ice Age especially dangerous. Scientists still debate whether early humans evolved thicker skulls, partly as insulation for the brain. Think about that your forehead might exist so you didn't freeze mid-dream. Outside the shelter, you hear the ice groan. It's not just melting or cracking, it's moving. Very slowly, it's eating the past. That shelter you just sat in, it'll be gone in a few years. Pulled under, crushed, flattened. And yet, even in the face of that glacial inevitability, someone once lay here, slept here, dreamed here. You imagine their dreams, probably practical. Firewood, hunger, predator avoidance, maybe even dreams of warmth lying in the sun, even though the sun itself barely showed up back then. Odd fact, many Arctic peoples report dreams dominated by light and colour, despite living in dark, grey conditions. Some scientists think it's the brain compensating dreaming of the things it doesn't get during waking life. You sigh and lie back in the same spot where a stranger once did millennia before you. The snow has begun again. Quiet, soft, endless. Your eyes flutter. You think about all the modern things your sleep depends on. A soft bed, a phone alarm, that weighted blanket with the weird name. None of that existed here, and yet somehow sleep still happened. It had to. Your brain's need for rest didn't wait for luxury. Even during the coldest centuries of Earth's history, you still needed to shut down, rebuild, dream. And this valley, it's a graveyard of sleep. Thousands of dreams once whispered through this glacier's fingers. All gone, all buried. You imagine the glacier like a librarian, quietly cataloguing every sleeping creature it touches, labelling their positions, flattening their moments. Here lies a man who slept too close to the edge. Here rests a mammoth who napped beside her calf. Here a girl dreamt of sunlight she never saw. You smile faintly at the absurdity, and also at the truth. You curl up next to the cold fire pit. The stones are smooth beneath your fingers worn by centuries of sleeping hands. Another strange thought: the cold didn't kill sleep. It defined it. Everything about your bedtime routine today, temperature drops quiet, dark rooms, that glass of warm milk, is a leftover ritual, a whisper from this time. So you let yourself drift again, beneath a glacier sky, in the shelter of strangers long forgotten, with only snow to muffle the sound of your dreams. You wake up stiff with your cheek pressed against cold stone. There's a ring of frost around your mouth. Not your best look. You sit up slowly, bones clicking, and peer out of the half-collapsed shelter. The snow has stopped falling, but the sky has turned the colour of old bones pale and indifferent. And the wind is back. You wrap the mammoth hide flap tighter around your shoulders and start walking. Not because you have a destination, but because sitting still for too long here feels like giving up. The terrain gets rougher, jagged, like the glacier chewed through the land and spat it back out in chunks. Eventually you spot a cave, low, dark, unwelcoming, which ironically makes it perfect. You duck inside, brushing past a curtain of icicles. The air is damp and smells like earth and regret, but it's shelter. And in the Ice Age, that's half the battle. The inside is bigger than expected, high-ceilinged and echoey. Along one wall there are black smudges, charcoal marks, ancient graffiti, stick figures, animals. One looks suspiciously like a person riding a deer. Bold. You drop your makeshift cloak and lie down on a pile of old furs someone or something left behind. And it's only then that you realise you're not alone. In the shadows, curled up near the back of the cave, are two figures. Neanderthals. Well, you assume they're Neanderthals. They're thick-browed, heavy-jawed, and built like tree trunks. Their breath comes slow and steady. One lets out a low snore that sounds like a log falling onto gravel. They're asleep. You freeze. You think about leaving, but you're tired. So tired. So instead, you slide quietly down into a soft patch of dirt and fur and pretend the cave is yours. Sleep creeps back in like a familiar shadow, and as you slip into its arms, a strange question appears in your mind. What did Neanderthals dream about? Nobody knows, of course, but scientists do know they likely shared our sleep architecture. REM cycles, deep wave phases, maybe even sleep paralysis. Their brains were large and complex. They made tools. They buried their dead. They painted caves. Chances are they dreamed. And here's a sleepy twist. Some researchers believe dreams may have preceded language. That your ancestors might have felt complex stories before they ever spoke them aloud. Imagine that. Lying in a cold cave, grunting softly, trying to describe the thing you saw in your sleep, an antlered god or fire that sang, or your mother with wings. You glance over at the snoring Neanderthal. He scratches his nose in his sleep and mutters something that sounds like "mp." Odd fact, prehistoric humans sometimes used bones as pillows. Specifically, jawbones. Sharp, right. But they were cool, durable, and could support the head off the cold ground. You shift, uncomfortably. No jawbones here. Just fur. You'll take it. You lie back. Your own breath, now joining the slow rhythm of the cave. There's a kind of music to it. The gentle inhale-exhale of shared survival. Outside, the wind moans through cracks in the rock. It sounds almost like a voice. And just as you're slipping off again, you get this image: a child in the Ice Age cuddled up to her mother, listening to stories by firelight. Not fairy tales. Survival stories. How to find shelter. What stars mean. Why you don't sleep near water in spring. You imagine her eyes wide with wonder. the way her mind turns those stories into dreams. How even now, thousands of years later, that same mechanism ticks inside you. Scientists still debate when exactly storytelling and sleep became inseparable. But they're clearly linked. You dream in narrative. You sleep better with a bedtime story. This one. And somewhere in your half-conscious drift, you realize you've looped. That in telling a story about Ice Age sleep, you've entered the same rhythm as those who lived it. Wake, walk, shelter, sleep, repeat. The Neanderthal coughs and rolls over. The cave shifts slightly with the motion, like it's breathing too. You fall backward into dreams. This time they come fast and strange. You're flying. You're frozen. You're sitting beside a fire that's burning upside down. You're brushing snow off a baby mammoth's eyelashes. Then you're back in the cave, blinking. Was that a dream, a memory, or both? You'll never know. That's the Ice Age's secret. It remembers for you. You close your eyes again and drift, with stone beneath you, and shadows all around. When you next open your eyes, it's hard to tell how much time has passed. The fire is just ash now. The cave is darker. The air smells faintly of singed hair moss and someone else's dream. The Neanderthals are gone. Either they woke and wandered off, or maybe they were never really there. Could have been a dream. You're starting to lose track. You crawl out of the cave and blink into the thick grey of morning. The world is glazed in fresh frost, like someone ran an invisible knife across every surface, just to leave a thin shimmer of ice. Your stomach growls. Your fingers are stiff. You've never wanted a hot drink more in your life. But instead you get moving. You hike across a snowy flatland, crunching over old mammoth prints, until something stops you. Smoke. Just a faint plume rising like a whisper above a hill. You follow it. On the other side, you find a circle of humans huddled around a crackling fire, fur-wrapped, soot-streaked, and busy whispering to each other. You hang back in the trees and watch. One of them, young long-haired face, smeared with charcoal, is telling a story. They're animated, arms waving, eyes wide. And even though you don't understand a word, you get it. There's tension, there's rhythm, there's a climax. And when it's over, everyone's quiet. Then they laugh, soft, surprised laughter, like they forgot they were freezing for a second. Then they lie down. No tents, no blankets, just the snow and each other, a pile of limbs and soft snoring. You wait a beat. Then slowly you creep closer, sit by the edge of the fire and wrap yourself in the rising warmth. You watch their chests rise and fall. And you wonder, what do Ice Age humans dream about after a story like that? Because here's a beautiful little fact. Dreams and storytelling feed each other. Scientists believe dreams help process and consolidate memories, especially the weird emotional stuff. And storytelling, that's just an external version of the same thing. When these people whisper around the fire, they're practicing empathy. They're replaying danger. They're rehearsing survival. And then when they lie down and close their eyes, their brains pick it up again, turning stories into symbols, reworking memories into images. And sometimes, just sometimes, those dreams make it back into waking life. That's how myths are born. You glance over and see one of them twitching in sleep. Their hand grips the air like they're holding something. Maybe a spear. Maybe a memory. Odd fact, many Ice Age cultures may have believed dreams weren't inside them, but outside, like invisible worlds you travelled to instead of created. There was no brain activity theory then. just experience. If you dreamed of a lost loved one, they had visited you. If you dreamed of falling, you had gone somewhere dangerous. Scientists still debate whether dream interpretation in prehistoric cultures was practical useful signs or spiritual divine messages. But either way, they took them seriously, and maybe that's what we've lost. That deep respect for the weird, shifting shadows of the sleeping mind. You lie back now near the outer ring of the sleeping humans. The fire pops and hisses. Snowflakes drift down like silent punctuation. And then you dream. You're standing in a frozen forest. The trees are glass. The birds speak backwards. A saber-toothed cat stares at you with your mother's eyes. Then everything melts into a lake that hums lullabies. You float. You dissolve. You become a snowflake and fall through someone else's dream. You wake up groggy, eyelids frosted. The fire's gone out. The others are waking too, yawning, stretching, blinking at the indifferent sky. You all stand, shake the snow off your shoulders, and wordlessly begin to walk. Because that's the rhythm here. You tell stories, you sleep, you dream, you walk, and somewhere in the rhythm you survive. You glance back once. The smoke is already gone, the footprints already fading. But something lingers, an image maybe, or just a feeling, like you've stepped into a story that's still being told. Your breath puffs out in front of you like lazy ghosts, vanishing into the pale morning. The snow under your feet makes that soft, familiar crunch, now comforting, like a memory you didn't know you had. You're walking with the group, or maybe you're drifting beside them. Nobody speaks. There's something sacred about this silence. Everyone is still half asleep, the line between dream and waking smeared like charcoal across their thoughts. But you notice something strange. No one's in a rush. That's when it hits you. These people don't live by hours or minutes. They don't need a watch to tell them when to wake, eat, sleep. Their bodies are synced to something deeper. The sun, the dark, the cold, the light. You remember your own life where alarm clocks screech and blue phone light fries your eyeballs at 2:00 a.m. You remember falling asleep to emails and waking up to dread. And now you're here, in a world where circadian rhythm is not a buzzword in a health podcast, but a fact of existence. Because here's the science. Your brain has a built-in clock, a master timekeeper, nestled deep inside the hypothalamus called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. It responds to light, not artificial light, real light, sunlight. The moment dawn touches your skin, your body knows. Cortisol rises, melatonin drops. Your system activates like someone whispered, "Wake up, the world is here." And at dusk, the reverse. Your body slows, repairs, prepares for the strange theatre of dreams. But during the Ice Age, especially near the poles, light was unreliable. Imagine months of darkness, or light that never really arrives. How do you sleep when the sky forgets what time it is? Scientists still debate how Paleolithic humans handled extreme photoperiods. Some theorize they adapted by developing flexible sleep, napping in chunks, or sinking to firelight instead of sunlight. And right now, you're seeing that play out. The group stops. One man gathers dry grass. Another strikes flint against stone. Sparks spit. Fire lives. And as soon as the warmth hits, people curl up beside it. Not night, not day, just sleep time. You sit and watch. Odd fact, even modern humans, when deprived of external time cues, will naturally slip into a longer circadian rhythm, often closer to 25 hours than 24. Like we're still wired for Ice Age uncertainty, You feel it happening in yourself. Your sleep is becoming softer, rounder. No longer a box you climb into at midnight and flee from at 7. It's a rhythm, a tide. You lie back in the snow, warm on one side, from the fire, freezing on the other. And somehow it's perfect. Your eyes flutter shut. In your dream, you're walking along the top of a glacier. It hums beneath you, slow and eternal. The sun and moon spin above like lazy coins tossed into a frozen sky. You speak to a bird that lives in both the day and night. It tells you time is fake, but naps are sacred. You wake to the smell of wood smoke and mammoth fat. Someone's cooking, someone else is humming. And even though it's technically morning, whatever that means, here half the group is sleeping again, and the others just watching the fire eyes glazed in that liminal space between now and not now. You wonder, did Ice Age humans sleep better than us? Not longer, not deeper, but better, because their lives were hard, yes, but not interrupted. No doom scrolling, no airport announcements, no glowing rectangles shouting bad news, just fire snow and a sky that refused to commit to a schedule. You sit beside the fire and close your eyes again, not to sleep, just to rest. Because here you don't need to be asleep to be dreaming. And your body, it remembers. Your eyes open to darkness, not just the darkness of night, but of night without definition. No stars, no moon, no ambient city glow, just void. You sit up slowly. Everyone else is asleep, curled in a heap around the smouldering fire. The coals pulse faintly, like the embers are dreaming too. And that's when you realize you've woken up during the middle of the night. But no one looks disturbed. No tossing, no panic, no one checking the time. You're just awake. And oddly, it feels normal, like your body expected it. Welcome to the ancient tradition of segmented sleep. You stare into the fire's soft light and feel it, this strange in-between zone, like a hallway connecting two worlds. In the Ice Age, and right up through the early modern era, humans didn't sleep in one long stretch. They had first sleep and second sleep. Two distinct phases. First sleep began a couple hours after nightfall, then a period of wakefulness in the middle, anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours. Then second sleep until dawn. And during that quiet middle phase, people did things. Some tended to the fire, others prayed, some made love. Many just sat quietly, letting their thoughts roam like wolves in the dark. And right now, you're one of them. Your breath is the only sound. Odd fact, historical documents from medieval Europe describe this habit like it was common sense. Doctors even prescribed the waking gap as a time for calm digestion or creativity. Scientists today believe segmented sleep was the default human pattern for most of our existence. The modern idea of 8 uninterrupted hours is the real anomaly. You feel it in your bones, this rhythm. Your thoughts drift like smoke. You think about the mammoth, about the dream with the upside-down fire, about your own modern insomnia. What if all those sleepless 3 a.m. moments weren't dysfunction? What if they were echoes? You shift slightly and glance over at the sleeping forms around you. One of them stirs, opens an eye, sees you. They nod once slow and sleepy, then lie back down. Nothing odd about being awake now. You're simply in the gap between sleeps. A natural pause. You look up at the sky again, still pitch black. But you begin to notice something, a faint change. Not light exactly, but an easing. The blackness isn't as total. The edge of dawn is thinking about arriving. You sit in that thought for a while. You consider how many things in your life now are built to fight this pause. Caffeine, phone screens, sleep hygiene. It's all trying to bulldoze this fragile little intermission. But here, It's allowed to be what it is, a sacred space. Maybe your brain is doing deep maintenance right now, or maybe it's just vibing. Scientists still debate what exactly this wakeful phase accomplishes. Some argue it's for memory consolidation. Others suggest it's psychological processing, or maybe it's social evolution's way of ensuring someone was always alert for predators. Speaking of, you hear a distant crack. You freeze. Is that a tree splitting from frost, or something bigger? You grip a stick. Not a weapon, just a comfort. Then the wind shifts. It was just ice. Nothing's hunting you tonight. Probably. You breathe deeply and lie back down, not out of fear, but because you feel it. Second sleep coming on, like a tide pulling you back into the deep. Your eyelids fall, and now your dreams are different. They're softer, stranger, less frantic. You dream of standing knee-deep in snow while the stars blink in Morse code. You lift a glacier like a blanket. The mammoth from before teaches you how to sleep without being afraid. When you wake, the world is tinted with the first grey blush of morning. Everyone around you is stirring too gently naturally. No one says good morning. There is no morning, just time to move again. You rise slowly, bones cracking, breath steaming. And as you walk, you think about the strangeness of it all. How your 3 a.m. anxiety may just be a misplaced evolutionary inheritance. How maybe, if you stopped panicking and just let yourself be awake, you might find peace there, like you did here, in the middle of the Ice Age, in the hour between dreams. You haven't spoken aloud in days. Your voice feels like an unopened drawer, dusty and unused. The sun's up now, though up is generous. It sort of limps along the edge of the sky like it's not really committed to being daytime. Everything is bathed in blue-grey light, soft and sourceless. You follow the group again, but this time they're not walking toward anything. They're waiting, watching, whispering. Then one of them points to a ridge, and they're nestled in a dip in the hill. You see it, a sleeping bear. Massive, brown, curled like a boulder with breath. You all stop, lower yourselves to the snow and just observe. No one throws a spear. No one moves closer. There's no fear, just a kind of reverence. You lean into the moment, chin in your hand, thinking that bear is doing what we all wish we could. Hibernation, the forbidden fruit of the sleep world. The bear snores a deep, steady rumble like a slow drumbeat beneath the snow. Its breath leaves little clouds on each exhale, rhythmic and patient. Your whole body suddenly aches with envy. Because here's the truth, humans can't hibernate. Not really. But scientists have been obsessed with the idea for years. Not just for survival, for space travel, for medicine, for long-haul naps. Imagine 6 months of cold weather sleep. No work, no drama, no meetings. Just body repair, metabolic slowdown, and uninterrupted dreams. And it's not impossible. Some small primates do it. Certain lemurs in Madagascar enter torpor, a kind of mini hibernation for weeks. So why not our scientists still debate what biological threshold humans missed? Was it metabolic size? Brain complexity? Did we trade hibernation for imagination? You glance at the bear again, wondering what it's dreaming about. Maybe nothing. Maybe it's dreaming of not existing for a while. Odd fact, hibernating animals don't dream the way we do. Their brain activity drops too low. It's more like pressing pause on consciousness, but you're not built for pause. You're built for story. And so, instead of hibernating, humans had to invent ritual rest. Blankets, lullabies, schedules, bedrooms, firelight. You curl up now in the snow, mimicking the bear's posture as best you can. It's not comfortable, but it feels instinctual. You close your eyes and imagine, what if your species had developed true hibernation? Would civilization exist? Would we have learned to farm, build right? Or would we still be curled in caves, dreaming through centuries, aging in slow motion? Maybe the price of art and cities and iPhones was year-round insomnia. Your breath slows. You try to match the bear. You picture your cells repairing, your thoughts untangling. You imagine your muscles growing stronger in sleep. Because they do, that part is real. Most of your physical healing happens during deep sleep. Stage 3, slow wave sleep. It's where your body produces growth hormone, where your immune system kicks in, where your memories settle into place, like falling snow. You sigh. That bear doesn't need to know this. It just does it. But you need to be told. Repeatedly. Through books, podcasts, apps. Sleep isn't a reward. It's survival. You glance over your shoulder at the rest of the group. One of them is curled next to a tree, eyes closed, lips twitching slightly. Dreaming, probably. And the other's still watching the bear, like it's teaching a class. You listen for its breath again. The deep, primal inhale. The patient, unbothered exhale. And it hits you, maybe the bear is the dream. Not in some mystical way, just aspirational. A symbol of stillness, of non-doing, of letting the world pass by without guilt. And you think maybe, for the first time in your life, I don't need to be awake for everything. You lie back, close your eyes, let the glacier air fill your lungs. And for just a moment, you pretend you're a bear too, wrapped in warmth, dreamless, heavy, timeless. The world turns slowly, and you don't. You wake with a start, not from noise or movement, but from silence that's too complete. The kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. It's night again, or something like it. The sky above is ink, the stars tiny and brittle. There's no fire, no glowing bear breath, just frost and frozen time. Everyone else is still asleep, except for one figure. You spot them on the ridge, standing completely still, watching. You climb carefully to join them, crunching through snow with the softest feet you can manage. When you reach the top, they don't look at you, just keep staring outward. The landscape below is vast, too vast, open and awful, like standing in the eye socket of a frozen skull. What are we looking at, you whisper. They don't answer, but you follow their gaze and then you see it. A pair of glowing eyes, then a third, then more, scattered like embers. Wolves, or something worse. And suddenly you realize you're on night watch. This wasn't just a poetic idea. This was survival protocol. When you sleep in the Ice Age, someone must stay awake, because the dark is full of teeth. Back then, humans weren't apex predators. We were soft, edible, and poorly timed. So we adapted socially, neurologically. Not by being always alert, but by developing rotating vigilance. Somebody always stays up. Even today in modern sleep studies, groups in rural or tribal societies naturally stagger their sleep, so someone's always semi-awake. No alarm needed. Just intuition. Scientists still debate whether this was a cultural invention or a biological adaptation. Did our brains evolve to sense when others were asleep so we could fill in the gaps? You're not sure. But standing here with this stranger in the dark, you feel it. A hand-me-down duty. And oddly, it doesn't feel burdensome. It feels right. Odd fact, dolphins sleep with half their brains at a time. One hemisphere shuts down, the other stays alert for danger. Humans don't do that. But during your first night in an unfamiliar place, half your brain does stay more awake. That's real. It's called the first night effect. Your inner Neanderthal pulling an all-nighter just in case. You and the other watcher exchange a glance now. Still no words. But there's something shared in that silence. The understanding that while the others dream, you hold the line. Not with weapons, just with presence. You shift your weight, stretch your toes. The cold nips, but doesn't bite. You think about all the ways modern humans try to bypass this. Motion sensors, security systems, nightlights. But all of it is a poor replacement for one person staying awake while another breathes deeply in peace. And you wonder if maybe that's why we sleep better with someone else in the room. A partner, a dog, a trusted sibling on a squeaky air mattress. Not because we need company, but because somewhere deep down we still expect a watcher. You sit now, pulling your knees to your chest. The wolves have moved on, or maybe they were never there. The stranger beside you finally speaks. One word. You don't understand it, but it sounds like safe. They lie back down, melting into the shadows. And now it's your turn. You keep your eyes open, watch the edges of the night, count your own breaths. And in this moment, you realize sleep isn't a solo act. It never was. Even your dreams are stitched from shared fears and borrowed shapes. Your safest sleep comes not from silence, but from knowing someone else is still listening. You feel your body hum with fatigue. The cold slips into your shoulders. You take one last look at the stars. Still there, still watching. Then you descend quietly, lie beside the others, and surrender. You sleep like a stone, not in a poetic way. Literally, you sleep flat, unmoving, half frozen, like you've been quarried from the side of a cliff. When you wake, your back hurts, your legs are asleep, and there's a wet patch of drool frozen to your fur wrap. Beautiful. The fire's back. Someone relit it during your unconscious hibernation impression. You sit up slowly and blink around. Everyone else is still dozing, but not peacefully. One person keeps twitching. Another mutters. Someone is snoring through a clogged nose like a dying flute. It's a whole messy symphony of group sleep. And now as the warmth from the fire touches your toes, it hits you. This is where sleep changed. Because here, for the first time in human history, we slept with fire. Controlled flame. Not just for warmth or light, but for safety. For architecture of the night. Before fire, the night was the domain of things with claws and superior vision. You'd curl into trees, squeeze into crevices, maybe sleep in short bursts. Never too deep. But with fire, you could push the dark back. You look into the flames, watch the hypnotic flicker, and think this changed everything. Fire gave us REM. Here's the science with a fire burning you could afford to go deeper into sleep. The kind of sleep that unlocks emotional processing, memory sorting, and long-term planning. Dream sleep. Even now, modern humans fall asleep faster and sleep deeper, with a warm ambient glow nearby, like a digital echo of campfire light. Scientists still debate how early humans managed fire safety. Some say they kept it low and constant. Others argue certain plants were used to deter sparks or insects. Either way, it worked. You glance at the people around you, all asleep, none clutching spears, because the fire is their sentry. Odd fact, firelight flickers at a frequency that aligns with brainwave transitions from wakefulness to sleep somewhere around 1 to 2 hertz.
That's probably why staring into a flame makes you feel soft and floaty. You lie back again and let the fire hypnotize you. It dances behind your eyelids now. You see a wolf leaping through sparks, a mammoth made of smoke, a woman singing a lullaby in a language that feels familiar even though it never existed. And then you're back in the cave, still lying down, but awake. Sort of. One of the older humans is stoking the fire, whispering to themselves. Maybe a prayer. Maybe just habit.
They see you watching, smile, then reach into a pouch and toss something into the flames. It crackles. Sparks shoot up like stars in fast forward. A sweet scent hits your nose. Herbs. Maybe mint, maybe pine. You sit up curious. They offer you a handful of dried leaves and gesture breathe. So you do. The smoke fills your lungs gently, makes your head go light. And suddenly you're there, floating. Your eyes are closed, but you see things. Shapes, symbols, dancing mammoths,
A river of bones. A sky full of blinking, watching eyes. It's not quite sleep, not quite waking. This is trance, and it was part of sleep too. Many prehistoric rituals included controlled dreaming induced by smoke, rhythm, light and breath. You come back, slowly blinking. The older one smiles again. No words needed, just welcome back. You lie down again. The fire crackles. The others shift in sleep. One hums softly, and you realize something odd. You've stopped wanting sleep.
Now it just comes. Like a friend. Like gravity. Like a story you've heard before but still love every time. The firelight dances across the walls. Shadows of hands. Of spears. Of fur. Of faces you'll never know. But all of them dreamt here. Just like you. You wake up confused. Not the where am I kind of confused. More like, why do I feel like I've never used my brain before? Your thoughts are slow. Your limbs are slow. You blink 5 times before realizing your hand is still inside your fur wrap, like some sort of prehistoric burrito. The world feels upside down. And here's why cold affects cognition. Your brain, despite its whole I run the show attitude, is actually incredibly fragile. Drop its temperature by just a few degrees, and suddenly it's all scrambled timelines, unfinished thoughts, and daydreams that spill into waking life. Right now, your IQ is probably running on dial-up. You sit up and blink hard. The fire's gone out. The group is moving quietly, packing, stretching, checking the wind. You feel like a walking fog. Welcome to sleep in sub-freezing temperatures. Here's the science when your body core gets too cold. Blood rushes inward to protect vital organs, your brain included. But this redistribution comes at a cost. Extremities ache. Thinking slows. Sleep quality dips into murky, fragmented shallows.
You may technically be asleep, but the repair crews in your brain are working overtime just to keep the lights on. And this sluggish, dreamy fog you're in. That's not laziness. That's evolution, trying to not let you die. You shuffle along with the others, eyes half closed. Someone trips. No one laughs. No one helps. They just keep walking because everyone knows that stopping for too long is a bad idea in this kind of cold.
You follow them into the white, the sky glowing with the kind of light that doesn't cast shadows. And your mind wanders again. You think about how modern people sleep in cold rooms on purpose. Weighted blankets, no heat. Sleep experts love to recommend a chilly room as the ideal sleep environment. And they're not wrong, just not this cold. Mild cold triggers melatonin, helps you fall asleep faster, and may even increase time in restorative deep sleep. But this is too cold. And now you start to realize something deeper. The Ice Age didn't just shape bodies, it shaped brains. The way you think, the way you process fear, memory, emotion, it all evolved while sleeping under conditions like this. So maybe that's why modern anxiety kicks in hardest at bedtime. Your brain remembers something your life forgot. That long ago in the cold and dark, danger came at night.
Scientists still debate just how much trauma from Ice Age survival is baked into the way we sleep today. Do we dream more vividly in winter because our ancestors were more alert then? Is seasonal affective disorder just an echo of a time when winter meant scarcity and fear? You don't know. You're too foggy to know. You trip over a root. Catch yourself just in time. The group ahead of you doesn't notice. Or maybe they do and don't care. There's no sympathy in the Ice Age. Only rhythm.
You reach a river frozen over with layers of cracked glass. You all cross carefully, one at a time. Your reflection follows you in pieces. You look at your own face. It doesn't seem like yours anymore. Too pale, too serious, too still. Odd fact, cold exposure suppresses the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for self-reflection, planning, emotional regulation. Which means essentially that your brain is less you in the cold. You're more instinct, less editor,
more raw footage. You make it across the ice and sit on a rock while the others forage in silence. You choose something dried meat, a root. You're not sure. And then, as the wind picks up, your eyes start to close again. Not out of exhaustion,
just because your brain needs to reboot. You doze in that half-sleep state, where dreams are porous and memory has no filter. You see your own face in the glacier. You hear your mother's voice coming from a snowflake. You imagine warmth, not fire, just sunlight. The kind that touches your skin and says, "It's safe now." And then silence. Not sleep, not wakefulness, just pause. Like your brain is floating in cold water, waiting, listening. You stay there quiet and heavy until the others return. Someone nudges your foot. Time to go. You stand slowly, still tangled in fog. But there's no panic, no rush. You're learning to walk through this cold-brained state, like it's normal.
because maybe for most of human history it was. You walk on. The cold presses against you like a thought you can't quite finish, and for once, you're okay with that. By now, the snow is part of you. It's in your hair, your bones, your breath. The sky is flat and lidless again, a canvas stretched too tight. The group has stopped for the night in a hollow between rocks. The fire's already flickering to life, the kindling crackling with that soft, familiar hiss, like paper crumpling in reverse. And someone's humming. You glance over and see a woman maybe in her 20s, maybe in her 60s. It's hard to tell through the layers of fur and dirt, sitting by the fire with her hands resting on her lap. Her eyes are closed. Her mouth is barely moving. She's singing. No real words. Just melody. Repetitive. Slow. Like a lullaby that got lost and had to find its way home without shoes. You settle in, wrap yourself tight, and listen. And there it is, your brain reacting. Your pulse slows. Your muscles unclench. You feel your shoulders drop 2 inches just from sound. This isn't a coincidence. It's biology. Lullabies are ancient, possibly older than language itself. They're universal, found in every culture and built around the same principles. Slow tempo, gentle rhythm, simple melody, repetition. Basically, they're engineered sedatives. Your brain responds by releasing dopamine, reducing cortisol, and nudging you towards sleep. Even now, in the freezing wilds of the Ice Age, this little campfire song is massaging your nervous system. And you realize something wild music didn't come after civilization. It was part of survival. Scientists still debate whether singing evolved for social bonding infant care or as a memory aid. But in a world without books or phones, melody was how you passed down what mattered. Like, don't eat that plant. The cave by the river floods. That one guy from the other group probably cursed. But tonight the song isn't a warning, it's a welcome. The group is dozing in waves, now heads bobbing like flowers in a slow wind. You lie down near the fire and let the melody wrap around you like fur. And your thoughts drift, of course they do. You think about modern lullabies. Twinkle, twinkle. Rockabye. Songs about stars and cradles falling from trees. Totally normal. But here, maybe the first lullabies were about fire. Or wolves. Or missing someone who froze last winter. You hum quietly to yourself. Odd fact, babies can recognize lullabies sung by their mother from the womb. The tempo of a mother's voice in song matches the resting heart rate of a fetus. In other words, the first song you ever heard was a lullaby. You close your eyes. In your dream, the mammoth is singing. It wears a necklace made of stars and drags a sled full of sleeping children through the sky. The sky hums with soft harmonies. The snow falls in perfect rhythm. The fire crackles like a percussion section. You wake briefly disoriented, not sure if you're still dreaming. The song is gone, but its echo is everywhere, in the way someone breathes across from you, in the slow blinking of embers, in the rhythm of your own heartbeat now. Slow, slow, slow. Sleep isn't always about shutting down. Sometimes it's about tuning in to a rhythm older than fire, older than words, a melody carved into your DNA like cave art. You let yourself fall again, and the music goes with you. The dream this time is different. No mammoths, no stars, just you floating in a kind of pale grey mist, and someone's watching you, not with eyes, with presence, like the air has decided to pay attention. You turn slowly, and standing before you is a figure draped in fur beads, feathers bone. Their face is painted, but not to hide, more like to become visible. A shaman, or a healer, or a dream walker. You don't have the right word. They reach toward you, not threatening, not warm either. Just curious. You blink, and you're back by the fire. But the figure from your dream is sitting across from you now. Same beads, same paint. Their eyes are closed, but their breath moves in a slow rhythm, and their hands are twitching slightly, not asleep, not exactly. They're somewhere else. And it hits you, this is more than sleep. This is trance. You sit up slowly, trying not to disturb the moment. The others are asleep, curled like commas around the fire. But this person, this shaman, is diving deep into something else entirely. And maybe for the first time, you realize just how thin the line between REM sleep and ritual really is. Because both involve detachment, both alter perception, both create visions. Scientists have long studied altered states of consciousness, from meditative trances to lucid dreams to spiritual possession. And guess what? The same brainwaves show up across all of them. Theta, delta, patterns that blur the boundary between inside and outside. Even now, monks, mystics, and sleep scientists speak the same neural language. Stillness, slow breath, repetition, darkness. Odd fact, when you're in REM sleep, your body is paralyzed, but your brain is as active as when you're awake, just pointed inward.
In a way, dreaming is your brain conducting a ritual for itself.
And here in the Ice Age, that ritual was sacred. You watch as a shaman reaches into a pouch, pulls out a small carved object bone, maybe tusk, and places it beside the fire. They whisper, not to you, to the flame, or to something in it. It's not spooky, it's not performative, it's just normal. Because this is how you made sense of a world full of ice predators, illness, and unanswered questions. You dreamed your way through it. You gave shape to sleep, purpose to chaos. Scientists still debate whether shamanic visions were drug-induced, sleep-deprived, or neurodivergent. Maybe all three, maybe none. But here's what matters. People treated sleep not as a break from life, but as part of it. You glance at the others, still in fetal curls, snoring gently. Their dreams are probably scattered nonsensical. Yours too sometimes. But this is intentional, and it makes you think. How often do you sleep on purpose? Not just because you're tired, but because you're ready, because your mind needs it, because you're seeking something. You lie back down, eyes on the shaman. Their chant is a loop now, gentle, predictable, soothing, and your body starts sinking to it. Breath by breath you fall back inward. This time your dream is deeper. You're walking through a forest of sleeping animals. Everything snores in harmony, bears, elk, foxes, even the trees. You pass a mirror made of frozen water. You look inside and see your own sleeping face. And behind it, the shaman. They nod once. You understand nothing. And everything. You wake slowly. The sun hasn't risen yet. The fire has dimmed. But something inside you feels clearer, like you went somewhere real and brought something small and sacred back with you. By the time you fully wake, the fire is just a memory, tiny embers buried in ash, like glowing punctuation marks at the end of a long sentence. Your breath fogs the air, again rising in wisps. Around you the others stir slowly, like stones learning how to stretch. But something's different today. There's movement, purpose. Someone ties a rope from fur to fur, creating a line. Another is stacking supplies. Stones twine bones into a bundle wrapped in hide. They're building something. A bed. Not a pile of moss or a hollow in the ground. A bed. You move closer. 2 long mammoth tusks have been stripped, smoothed, and bent into a low oval. Hide is stretched across, lashed with sinew, padded with dry grass. It's crude, it's brilliant, and it changes everything. Because this is the invention of comfort. Not just sleep, better sleep. Until now, most rest was functional. Wherever you dropped, you slept. On dirt, on stone, on frozen animal hides, laid straight on snow. But now, elevation, padding, structure. They're lifting the human body off the earth just a few inches. It's not much, but it's revolutionary. Here's the science sleeping off the ground, reduces exposure to moisture parasites, and cold seeping up from below. That's a huge survival boost. But more than that, it allows for deeper rest. Less tossing, less waking, more dreaming, more repair. And this little shift may have changed the trajectory of human consciousness. Odd fact, chimpanzees also build sleeping nests in trees, carefully woven platforms of branches that provide elevation and support. Studies show they sleep better in them too. Longer REM phases, less disturbance. So maybe building a bed isn't about comfort. It's about clarity. You sit nearby, watching the final knots being tied. The bed creaks slightly under its own weight, like it knows its purpose and accepts it. Someone gestures for you to try it. You hesitate, then lie down.
It's
warm. Not in temperature, but in design. You feel held, slightly buoyant, like the earth still wants to keep you, but now it's asking politely. Your eyes close almost instantly, and now your dream is clean, simple. You're floating down a river of sleep. The stars above form a spiral. Mammoths bathe in glowing pools of firelight. You pass huts, campspeople whispering dreams into jars and burying them like seeds. You understand none of it, but it makes sense. You wake gently.
this bed has changed you. You realize all at once how many little innovations had to happen for you to eventually end up in a modern mattress store, saying, "Do you have anything firmer, but also cloud-like?" Someone grunts. They want the bed now. You roll out, stretch your arms, and nod. It was good while it lasted. The sun peeks over the horizon, thin and lazy, like it's showing up just for appearances. You join the others and begin walking again, feeling a little more human than usual. Because last night you slept on a bed, and something about that feels monumental. Scientists still debate when the first true beds appeared. Some point to 77,000-year-old remains in South Africa, bundles of grass arranged on raised platforms. Others argue Ice Age structures were improvised, not true furniture. But whatever this thing is, it works. You glance back once before leaving. The bed is still there, empty now.
Waiting for the next tired dreamer to lie down and shift the future just a little bit more. The wind changes. You don't notice it at first, too busy counting your steps, trying to keep warm, trying to forget how cold your kneecaps are. But then it hits your ears. The way the air suddenly smells different. Not snow, not pine, wetness. You stop. Far ahead where the glacier meets the horizon, there's movement. Not ice, not people, water. It glints in thin, wrinkled sheets, like the sky spilled its drink across the valley floor. The group stops too. Everyone looks out silent. This is rare, and dangerous, and weirdly beautiful, because now you're moving through a place where the Ice Age is starting to change. You hike for hours or maybe days. Time is a loose concept now. Your sleep cycle has shifted entirely. You nap when the cold allows it. You walk when the group moves. And every day the world gets slightly less frozen. The snow feels wetter. The ground slushes underfoot. You even spot a bird once. A real bird. The Ice Age is receding. And with it, the way people sleep is starting to shift. You come across a cluster of humans you've never seen before. Their camp is near a stream. Their shelters are shaped differently, taller, built with wooden supports. And something else is different. They nap during the day. You watch one woman lie down in the grass mid-afternoon, completely relaxed, eyes closed. A baby sleeps next to her, curled like a bean. And for the first time, you realize not all humans slept the same. Sleep diversified, just like everything else. In colder climates, segmented sleep and fire-watching dominated. But now, as warmth returns, so do new behaviors. The siesta midday sleep, probably one of humanity's oldest sleep adaptations for heat. In warmer areas, the midday sun is brutal. So instead of fighting it, people pause, rest, wait out the worst of it. Modern Mediterranean and African cultures still follow this rhythm, and it's not laziness, it's logic. Odd fact, studies show that even when removed from cultural cues, many people naturally experience a dip in alertness between 1 to 3 p.m. Your brain wants a nap. And now in the Ice Age's final chapter, you're watching that ancient instinct bloom. You lie down in the grass beside a stream. No fire needed. The sun touches your skin, not harshly,
but like a hand saying you can stop now. You close your eyes. The sleep is light, but real. Your dreams are different, more open. You're walking through meadows now. The mammoths are far in the distance, waving goodbye with their trunks. There's still danger, yes, but there's also space and possibility. You wake with a yawn. The woman beside you is awake too. She smiles. No words, just mutual recognition of a shared nap. You start to notice other changes. At night, the fires are smaller. People gather more tightly, but sleep comes faster. Less watching, more trust. You dream more clearly now. Less shadow, more story. One night, you dream of inventing a pillow. It's made of feathers and clouds and your favourite memories. You wake laughing. Another night, you dream of a place with clocks. Bright rectangles that tell you when to wake and when to sleep. You wake screaming. Scientists still debate how early agriculture shifted human sleep. Some argue it ruined everything, forcing schedules, compressing sleep into unnatural blocks. Others suggest it brought stability, routine, even comfort. You're not sure, but you are sure of this. As the planet warms, sleep becomes more personal, no longer a group effort, no longer dictated entirely by predators and firelight. Now you nap because it feels right. You sleep because you want to dream.
And while the cold still lingers at night, it no longer bites. You're adapting. Again. Because that's what humans do. You're not the same person who walked into the Ice Age. You sleep differently, dream differently, think differently. You're learning to rest, not just to survive, but to live. You wake to the sound of buzzing, not bees. It's too early for that, too cold still, but something close. A low-frequency hum from the earth itself, like the ground is stretching after a long nap. The snow has thinned now to patches. You can see dirt again, real dirt, brown, gritty, kind of gorgeous. You bend down and touch it. Warm. The Ice Age is officially retreating. But here's the twist. As the world starts to thaw, your dreams begin to darken. Not nightmares, just more vivid, more urgent. You dream of rivers breaking their banks, of homes sliding into melting hillsides, of animals slipping through thinning ice. Because with change comes anxiety. And anxiety, it's deeply tied to sleep. You notice it first in the group. The way people stir more during the night. The way their conversations shift from hunting to moving. Where next will there be water? Will the ice come back? Even the dreams are louder. One man mutters in his sleep, another thrashes and wakes gasping. And you realize your brain doesn't just use sleep to rest. It uses it to prepare. That's one of the key theories behind dreaming threat rehearsal. You simulate disaster in your sleep, so you're better at avoiding it while awake. Scientists still debate how much of our dream life is practice for fear. But the pattern holds: the more unstable your world, the more intense your dreams become. You lie down that night, next to a river. The snow is nearly gone, and the mud is sucking at your ankles. You stare at the stars. You fall asleep with your hand on your chest, trying to calm your own heartbeat. Your dream is a flood, but you're prepared. You build a raft out of bones and dreams. You float down the river with your arms outstretched, humming a lullaby. Odd fact, people who experience long-term stress often report more frequent lucid dreams. The brain seems to step in and say, okay, let's give you some control back. And that's what this feels like. The dreams aren't attacking you. They're handing you maps. You wake up in the middle of the night and realize you're gripping a stick like a paddle. You chuckle. then drop it, then roll over and sleep again. Later, as you move with the group across a field of thawing grass, someone begins drawing something in the dirt with a burnt stick. It's a pattern: 2 eyes, a closed mouth, a line above a storm, a roof. I thought, it's a dream drawing.
Not just art, not just boredom, a record of sleep. You suddenly realize that maybe all early symbols came from dreams, not from waking observations, but from internal ones. Fire didn't just warm the body, it lit the inside of the skull. And as Ice Age humans began navigating uncertainty, they turned their dreams into stories, their stories into pictures, their pictures into myths. And slowly their minds rewired around the idea that dreams mattered. Scientists still debate when abstract thought truly emerged. But cave art, early religion, symbolic burials, they all show up right around the same time. Sleep patterns were shifting. Coincidence? Maybe. But your brain doesn't think so. You lie on your back, later looking at that dirt drawing, and wonder what the artist saw. Was it fear a storm, or just the memory of a shadow walking across their chest? You reach for a stick and start your own version. It's crude. A mammoth. A river. A small figure lying flat, dreaming with their arms open. Someone sees it and nods. They recognize it instantly. You don't need words, just dreams and sleep, and the courage to let your sleeping brain do what it does best, make meaning from noise. Even as the ice melts, even as the world remakes itself, even as you wake. By now, you barely recognize the land. The ice is all but gone, retreated like a shy guest, leaving quietly through the back door. What remains is damp, uneven, splashed with green and buzzing with the first real stirrings of spring. You walk through it slowly. Every step feels like history crumbling beneath your feet. Birdsong, actual birdsong, not just distant flaps or scattered silhouettes, but full giddy choruses echoing from the trees. It's like the world is singing itself awake. And with it, your sleep has changed again. You find yourself lying down later, rising earlier. The darkness comes slower now, and with it, different dreams. Gone are the bare huddled nights and glacier groans. Now you dream of plants, fireflies, rivers, and farming. Yes, farming. One night you dream you're planting seeds, not for food, but for dreams. You tuck each one into the soil, whispering a hope into the ground. Because what's sprouting now isn't just moss and flowers. It's civilization. You and your group settle near a large river bend. The huts are sturdier now. The beds higher. The fires smaller, more efficient. And everything seems to run on a new rhythm. Not dictated by predators or freezing winds, but by sunlight and seasons. The age of agriculture is creeping in on soft, muddy feet. And with it, sleep changes yet again. You see it happen. People start staying up longer. They talk more by firelight. They plan. And mornings, they have tasks now. The sleep feels bookended, less fluid. You wake one morning to someone shaking you gently. Not a predator alert, not hunger, but a schedule. Come, they motion. You gather stones, lay them in rows, trace paths through the grass. This is something new, and something ancient in your brain twitches in protest, because you've started missing the dream-swaddled freedom of segmented sleep midday naps and letting your body decide. Now you sleep when there's time, not when your body asks. And you're not alone. Odd fact, the invention of agriculture radically altered human sleep. Where hunter-gatherers slept in segments and naps, Early agrarians began compressing sleep into longer nighttime blocks. Why labor? Light, animals, fields. The sun became your boss. Scientists still debate whether this was an upgrade or a loss. Some argue farming gave people control and stability. Others point out the sudden rise in malnutrition disease and, yes, chronic fatigue. You feel it. Some nights you lie in your neatly built shelter and struggle to fall asleep.
Not because you're scared, but because you're still running mentally. You lie flat on your back and stare at the roof. Your dreams don't come as easily now, or they're sharper, more vivid, sometimes even stressful. You dream of forgetting to collect berries, of building a bed and it sinking into mud, of sleeping through planting season. And maybe for the first time you understand something deeply modern. Sleep can be safe and still elusive.
You shift under your fur and hear others stirring. One is already up sharpening a tool. Another is blowing into a clay pot, checking for cracks. You sit up groggy. The sunrise feels like a deadline. But before you move, you pause. You think of mammoth bones, bare caves, fires and dreams and songs with no words. And you let yourself remember what sleep used to be. Not a task, not a time slot, but a tide. You lie back down for a moment. Just one more moment. You close your eyes.
And you dream deliberately. Because even if the world is changing, even if daylight now demands more of you, your dreams are still yours. And they remember everything. You wake before the sun. Not because you want to. Not even because you have to. You wake because your body does it on its own now. It's hardwired. Your eyes blink open in the blue-grey hush of pre-dawn. You lie there unmoving, listening to the soft breathing around you. Others still lost in the tail end of dreams. You sit up, stretch, and notice something shift in your chest. A thought not fully formed, I made it. You stand and walk quietly out of the shelter. The grass is wet beneath your feet. The sky is thinking about lighting up. And you realize this isn't Ice Age anymore. Not truly. The glaciers are gone tucked away like old gods. The mammoths ghosts now. The fire still burns at night, yes, but it's routine, not survival. And you, in all your quiet breath and ancient eyes, are now part of something new. Because here's the truth. You are the descendant of survivors. Not just the strong, the lucky, the clever, but the rested. The ones who learn to sleep enough, to think clearly, to heal faster, to dream bigger. The ones who use sleep as a tool, a sanctuary, a recalibration chamber for the mind. Every time you lie down today and close your eyes, your body is echoing decisions made 10,000 years ago by people who did not give up. You sit now at the edge of a shallow hill. Mist drapes over the grass like a blanket thrown in a hurry. You can hear water, real water moving. Below you, two children sleep, curled beside their mother. She's snoring gently. Her hand rests on her child's chest, rising and falling like the tide. You remember being that child, or someone very much like them, and the weight of all the sleepers behind you, millions of years of dreamers and cave snorers and river nappers, presses gently on your back like a comforting hand. Odd fact, sleep is one of the most conserved behaviors across the entire animal kingdom. Every creature in some form or another sleeps. Sharks, bees, frogs, birds flying mid-air. It's not weakness, it's design. Sleep is evolution's best idea. And your body, miraculous and messy, carries its blueprint.
Even your insomnia is part of that heritage. Your ancestors, who jolted awake at the crack of a branch, they lived. Pass that trait on. Scientists still debate how much of modern sleep difficulty is genetic versus environmental, but it's probably both. Your restlessness is earned. You begin to walk slowly, no rush. The day hasn't asked anything of you yet. As you move, the others start to wake. Some stretch, some roll over.
One person sits up and stares at the sky mouth slightly open, like they've never seen pink clouds before. You nod at them. They nod back. And in that moment you feel it a quiet thread connecting you both, not through language or culture or even warmth, but through shared sleep. You survived together by taking turns at the fire, by humming lullabies, by dreaming symbols into being. You made it, not just through the night, through history.
You lie down one last time beneath an open sky. The stars are backscattered like sugar across a black cloth. The fire behind you is quiet, just a soft glow, now not a roar. You're warm, but not from fur or flame. From something else, something internal, something earned. Sleep comes quickly but gently. Not like the cold cave nights or the flooded fields or the wind-rattled shelters. This is different. A stillness that says, you've done enough.
And your dreams. This time they arrive not with panic or prophecy, but as memory. You see the glacier again crawling like slow breath. You see the mammoth's eyes full of wisdom it never needed to explain. You see firelight flickering against cave walls where someone once painted a story. But now those memories feel old, like pages in a book you loved and have finally finished. Because this is the end of the Ice Age and the beginning of something terrifying: rest. True, unearned, uneventful rest. Not survival, not watchfulness, not sleep with one eye open. Just sleep. Modern, safe, messy, boring, beautiful sleep. The kind where you oversleep your alarm. The kind where you drool on your pillow. The kind where your body says, I need this, and no one interrupts. Because the ice is gone. The caves are behind you. And even though your world is noisy, now filled with phones and bills, and that weird hum your fridge makes at night, you still carry everything you've learned. You carry the cave songs, the segmented nights, the bear-shaped envy, the firelit trance, the dreams that shaped your language before you had words to hold them. You are the dreamer who made it through, the human who inherited 1 billion nights of figuring out how to survive by sleeping just enough and sometimes too much.
Odd fact, we spend nearly a third of our lives asleep. But that third isn't wasted. It's where we repair, where we remember, where we rehearse who we are. Scientists still debate the true purpose of sleep, but maybe they're asking the wrong question. Maybe sleep isn't about what we do in it. Maybe it's about who we become because of it. You close your eyes now. The last thought that drifts across your mind is simple. Not a question, not a fear, just a promise.
I'll rest again tomorrow. And you will, because the ice is gone, but sleep remains. And so do you. You've just walked through time, from the frozen silence of the Ice Age to the soft murmur of settled life. Through mammoth encounters, cave snores, firelit rituals, and dirt-drawn dreams you've watched. Sleep evolve not just as a biological necessity, but as a cultural mirror. In the beginning, sleep was survival. Something done in packs beside fire, with one eye half open for saber-tooths and shadows. You learned how cold changes your brain, how the absence of clocks gave birth to segmented nights, how people sang themselves to sleep long before lullabies had names. As you wandered, your body
shifted with the world. The glacier moved, and so did your REM cycles. You watched hibernating bears and felt jealous. You stood night watch under stars, learning that rest is communal and dreams are maps.
With every fire, built bed constructed, and dream interpreted, humanity's relationship with sleep deepened. You passed through ritual trance states and early agricultural wake-up calls. You saw how light reshaped the hours we allow ourselves to rest, and how, even today, we carry ancient sleep rhythms in our blood. And now you're the result. The heir to 1,000,000 nights of evolution. You dream because they did. You rest because they taught you how.
So tonight, when your head sinks into your pillow, remember this. Your sleep isn't just recovery. It's memory. It's survival. It's legacy. Close your eyes. The Ice Age is over, and you're still dreaming. End of script. Good night.